Today on Business Success in Six with Stacie, I have David Casey here, owner of Milwaukee Baseball Academy, Lakeshore Chinooks, and a few other businesses. David, thanks for jumping on with me.
Thanks, Stacie. Appreciate you having me.
It's my pleasure. You are part of an American pastime and dream, baseball, which we all know and love. And I'd love to ask you some questions, not only about Milwaukee Baseball Academy, but just your experience with different businesses and baseball. Is that okay if we dive into that?
Yeah, it'd be great.
All right, here we go. We'll start with the first one. When people ask you what Milwaukee Baseball Academy does, how do you describe that business?
Yeah, we work with kids from 6 to 18 years old on training them in different facets of baseball. And then, kind of an aside, we also create our own travel teams that expose kids to maybe a higher level of playing than your standard little league or local team.
Very good. Are those kind of like highlight teams or how far do you travel? Tell me a little bit more about the exposure side of that.
Yep. So our depends on the age group. So NBA teams are typically 13U to 18U
Okay.
is where we're at right now. Um, the idea with those teams is to really gear them up for exposing themselves to colleges.
Mhm.
Um, and so most of our teams are traveling at a minimum throughout the upper Midwest. So Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, Michigan, that kind of travel schedule. And then when teams prove to us that they're pretty good, they can compete at a high level, then we put them into a more national travel schedule, which can take them to Georgia or Florida or, Ohio or wherever to really get them the top notch exposure.
Very fun. So normally my second question is what were your plans when you started your business and how have they changed? But I want to rewind even a little bit further. What were your plans when you were really getting into baseball? What's your baseball history and how did you incorporate that into your businesses?
Yeah, I grew up in Whitefish Bay and played and was lucky enough to be offered a scholarship to go play at the University of Notre Dame. Played there for 4 years. Um, got an opportunity to go play overseas in Australia as a professional baseball player and played here in the United States for a couple teams similar to the Milkmen or the Dockhounds, so independent baseball. And then at some point, it became clear I wasn't going to be an MLB baseball player, so I had to start thinking, okay, do I want to jump into the real world and get a real job, or do I want to go work for myself, or be a college baseball coach or a scout, or what do I want to do? And so I decided to, I want to go work for myself, and I didn't like the idea of working for someone else,
Mhm.
and so I um, put a business plan together, raised a little money, and got Milwaukee Baseball Academy off the ground in 2013.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So from there, how did you acquire, purchase Lakeshore Chinooks or the Rockford Rivets? Do you want to share a little bit more about that momentum that you were able to gain?
Yeah, it's a slow process, kind of you got to get the snowball rolling downhill, so to speak.
Mm.
Um, I think it was just, my mindset's always putting one foot in front of the other and small victories every day. And so making sure that we're putting a good product out there for our NBA family and players and all that stuff. And then COVID hit. So that, we were 7, 8 years in, we were doing well. Our original location was on the east side, close to Shorewood High School.
Mhm.
COVID hit, and I was actually in the city of Milwaukee with my original MBA, and that was really tough being in the city and COVID, and they had some stricter rules over there. So
Mhm.
I shut that one down and brought it up to Menominee Falls, where we are currently. Brought on a partner named Todd Colasso, who's been, um, really a fantastic partner for me, and is a partner in everything I do now, baseball related. And Todd and I sat down and said, okay, how do we want to grow from here? And we said, well, let's kind of expand our footprint in the baseball world. So we started looking at options and exploring some things, and a Northwoods League baseball team became available, and so we started going down that path. Ultimately, um, the original Northwoods League team we were exploring didn't happen, and we changed course. And I think for the better, we ended up with the Lakeshore Chinooks as our purchase. And so we had a successful first year with the Chinooks, and then the Rockford Rivets kind of fell into our lap last December, and we decided
Wow.
to pull the trigger on that one also.
Oh my gosh. Congratulations. You are right about that snowball. Once you get that big that momentum moving, you can really, I don't, I, for, I'd like to use the word, it's powerful. And I mean powerful in the best sense because you're able to impact so many people. And I want to bring up the next question now. What is the biggest way you impact the community? Because I know you're doing so much in the community. Would you like to share some of the opportunities you have to give back?
Yeah, so we do a lot of things. Obviously, wearing a couple different hats here, but the amount of people we're able to really work with, I think, is just number one. So whether it be our customers at NBA or whether it be the fans that we get to interact with the Chinooks and the Rivets, and but the Chinooks, I think, are really one of our main goals is to be a great community partner, and it's kind of the ethos of the Chinooks, really. And so we work with charities like Habitat and Mel's and um, Miracle League, and I could name 5, 10 plus others that we work with that we really try to have a great partnership and relationship with, and every year in and year out, we're working with them. So I think that's probably the biggest impact that we have as an organization is just being able to raise money for and see direct impact of what and the people that walk through the gates at Chinooks games and how they can help us.
Yeah, that's so cool. And in addition to that, I just think about all these young girls and boys that have dreams to be better, and to be able to provide a vehicle for them to be better at baseball, be better teammates, but be better all around. That is stuff when you're molding these kids that's gonna travel forth for generations. So thanks for all that you do.
Yeah, thanks. Sports, I think, is one of the best ways to learn, especially baseball, how to fail and then move on and get better and build a nice work ethic that can translate, like you said, into the real world. It's a great tool.
You are so right about that. Yeah, when we think about baseball and statistics, like it's such a failing game. And I'm like, well, it's a really good baseball average or batting average, right? And like you can change that mindset. Like, who wants to be like 33% of anything and just that good? But when you turn it around into that baseball mindset, I absolutely love that you brought that up and learning how to fail. So
Yeah.
thank you. So my next question for you is, what is one challenge that you have faced as a business owner that other business owners could learn from?
Yeah, there's a laundry list of challenges. I think every entrepreneur would tell you that. Just the top couple that come to mind. And I think the first one is obvious, and every business owner probably faced this challenge over the last couple of years. But COVID was pretty tough, um, in a couple ways. Um, I think we were able to do well during COVID. Actually, I think parents were looking for outlets for their kids to be able to do something outside of the home. And so our academy became a great outlet for kids. Um, it actually expanded our hours because kids were at home stuck on their computers trying to learn. So our normal
Okay.
hours would be like starting at 4 p.m. after a school day, but now kids were coming in at noon for lessons and 10 a.m. for lessons and all that stuff. But I think the other challenges, obviously, I had to shut down one of our locations. That was a challenge for sure.
Mhm.
Staffing for us is probably the biggest challenge. Um, I'm super grateful for all of our coaches throughout our organization. A lot of them are young kids, having either in college or just got done with college. So
Okay.
they're still figuring out what they want to do with their life. And although we've retained some and had some working with us for 8, 10 plus years, um, the turnover is high. And
Sure.
being able to fill in the quality of coach year in and year out is hard. And that coupled with just the constant competition that keeps popping up in this world is tough. So those
Absolutely.
would be the challenges I would lay out as the biggest for us.
Tell me a little bit more about the turnover. Is that because it's such a demanding job to be a coach, and then the seasons in their lives change and they might have families or other jobs? Is like what why the turnover, do you think?
So I think a lot of them, it's not like full-time hours to where they're being able to make like a full-time living. It's a great side gig for a lot of them. So um, as they start to transition out of their own baseball career and into something else, a lot of times just like the timing doesn't work out, um, or they get a job and they have to move away,
Mm,
or there's a whole host of reasons as to why like they just can't put in the time, or maybe they just can't put in as much time as they used to.
sure.
Um, and so then we have to replace those hours with someone else.
Yeah.
And listen, we're not in California and we're not in Texas, so you can't just go around every street corner and find a minor league baseball player in Milwaukee. So
Right.
you have to find good, talented guys that know what they're talking about to teach our young kids.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Thanks for sharing that. My
Sure.
next question for you is, what does the future look like to you in Milwaukee Baseball Academy, the Lakeshore Chinooks? What does the future look like in baseball here?
Well, we're always in a growth mindset over here. We always are looking for next opportunities, but um, I think the future, just to kind of taking a step back in youth sports, is strong. It's been growing like crazy over the last decade. I don't see it stopping anytime soon, and so we're excited to be part of that and provides a really good product for families and players in the local market here. On the Chinook side and the Rivet side, we are we're going to continue working with local partners, and we're going to continue bringing great baseball to those towns and putting a good product on the field for people to come watch kind of minor league baseball. Um, and then as far as kind of myself and Todd and our businesses personally, we're always keeping our eyes peeled for what could be next.
Sure. Do you have an exit plan yet on any of these, or are you just keeping pushing forward?
Yeah, I get asked sometimes about that. I think you need to go into every business with a potential exit plan. So I think, you know, way back when, 10 years ago, I think when I started MBA, I think outlining potential exits is important.
Mhm.
I'm not anywhere near a point where I want to think about exiting anything. I want to think about growing. And so for me right now, it's about um, continuing to build really great assets and businesses, and uh, but always with a light at the end of the tunnel in the back of my mind.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It is important to go in with an exit plan or just a little bit of an idea of where you could go with that. That's something our coaches talk about a lot with our clients. So I'm glad you brought that up and know that yourself.
Yeah, I'm so. One thing I should mention is I um, try to surround myself with really smart people and people who have been through this before,
Yeah.
whether it be family or friends or mentors or investors or whoever. But being able to lean on people who are smarter than me and people who have been through business before or started businesses before, it makes things a lot easier when you don't have to fight every battle yourself or have to reinvent the wheel, and you can really lean on people who have that experience. Makes things quite a bit easier.
Absolutely. Thank you. My final question for you, David, all subjects open. What inspires you most?
Yeah, I was thinking about this one. I think the first thing that comes to mind is just my family. um, I think trying to provide the best life for my wife and my two kids at home, Kate and Winnie, is something that motivates me every day. Um, and I think kind of more generally, or stepping back a little bit more, is just I'm a competitive guy, and for me, it doesn't take much to get me going. So I want to just be at my best as often as I can. I talked earlier about small victories every day
Yeah.
and continuing to learn how to appreciate accomplishing things every day, no matter how big or small. You find yourself really making significant forward progress if you are able to um, stack up those small victories every day. So just being competitive and going and trying to do the best you can, put the best product out there. I think it's just a motivational thing for me.
Yeah, very motivational. Thank you so much for inspiring me with that as well. That's awesome. Now, if somebody wants to get in touch with you or the Milwaukee Baseball Academy or work as a strategic alliance, what is the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah, so MilwaukeeBaseballAcademy.com is going to have all of our contact information there. LakeshoreChinooks.com, same thing there if people are interested in coming out to games. Otherwise, Milwaukee Baseball Academy really is run by Rob Hagedorn. He's amazing and runs our business day to day. If anyone's interested in lessons or rentals or classes or teams, 414-332-3188 is the number that'll get you to Rob. You can call or
Awesome.
text that number.
Very cool. And do you have social media that people can follow as well?
We do. At MKE Baseball Academy, I believe, for MBA, and Lakeshore Chinooks, I think, all across the board for that group, and Rockford
Perfect.
Rivets, I think, across the board for the Rivets.
Awesome. It was such a pleasure spending time with you and learning and talking about the different businesses that you have and sharing that with our clients, community, and followers. Thank you so much for your time today, David.
Thanks for having me, Stacie. I appreciate it.
You take care.
You too.